In this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to find 10x stocks in your 20s. And if you don't believe me, I have actually found 10x stock before. So I'm not just chatting shit, as you can see on screen. And at the end of the video, I will let you know what stock it was. And if a 10x stock wasn't enough proof to show that I sort of know what I'm on about, I've also reached a £94,000 portfolio at the age of 22 with about £20,000 invested. Right, onto this very well put together PowerPoint. This took me hours and hours and hours. First thing I'm going to run through is the financials. Now, financials are quite boring for most people. I find them quite fun. But I want to run through at a pretty beginner level, so hopefully all levels of experience in investing can learn something. So there's these set of papers that I like to call the three biggies. These are income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet. I'm going to take you through all three and what you can interpret from each one, which gives you an idea of how that company is performing. Biggie number one, we've got the balance sheet. And this is a measure of stability in a company. So balance sheets look at the company's total assets and the company's total liabilities. So if you don't know what an asset is, not many people do. An asset is an item or property owned by a person or a company regarded as having value and available to meet debts, commitments, or legacies. So an asset can be anything from a house you own to the watch on your wrist. You can sell that watch and pay off debts you owe people. There are three main types of assets. I'm going to run you through them. We've got current assets. These are things that can be liquidated within 12 months. This can be, the example on screen in a very low quality image is inventory. So say a company like a supermarket, they can sell all its food within 12 months and get the money for it. The second asset is non-current assets, and these take a lot longer to convert to cash. So usually quite a bit over 12 months. And examples of these are property. So as you can see here, your company, it's got a big factory. Who's buying that? It's going to take a while. There's not many people who want to buy a factory. So if a company's got a large amount of non-current assets, shit hit the fan pretty quickly. It's going to struggle to convert these big assets into cash as quick. Final asset is non-tangible assets. These are non-physical assets that you can't actually touch or feel, like patents, copyright, even AI, brand image, for example. So Coca-Cola's brand image, everyone knows Coca-Cola. And a non-tangible asset is putting a value on that brand image. So often these are quite hard to calculate, and they're very much up for interpretation. So I could think Coca-Cola's brand image is worth more than someone else does. So you've got to be careful with these. So that's assets out of the way. Now we're looking at liabilities. So short term, aka current liabilities, you have to pay off within 12 months. So this could be an invoice for something which is usually 30 to 90 days. Non-current liabilities are things that take longer than 12 months. These can be from 1 year up to, say, like a mortgage, which is 30 years. So now you know the basics of a balance sheet, what you're actually looking for in these figures. Number one is current ratio. So this is your current assets over your current liabilities. And we want this figure to be greater than 1. This is like I was saying earlier, if a company did fall into financial turmoil over the short term, so say unfavourable economic climate like COVID, for example, demand suddenly absolutely plummeted. Companies weren't bringing any money in, but they still had money to owe to other companies. The companies that did well during this time were companies that had a lot of assets, current assets specifically, what they could sell to pay off their short-term debt. Next thing you want to look out for is if cash is declining. So cash is a current asset, and if this is declining while debt is rising, the company's financial position is looking pretty ropey. What you want is, like the first point really, high assets and low liabilities, low debt. The final red flag you have to look for, there's obviously more than three, but I thought I'd give you some main ones to get you thinking. The final one is huge intangibles. So, like I was talking about Coca-Cola's brand image, has someone dodgy or someone with not much knowledge valued the company's intangibles completely wrong? They've completely overvalued it. On the contrary, they might have undervalued the company's intangibles. That's up for you to decide and up to your interpretation whether or not the intangibles look pretty accurate. Biggie number two, we've got an income statement, and income statements, I basically look at them as the performance of the company. So what income statements look at is essentially the money that's coming into the company through income, through sales, through dividend, interest, and it minuses off the expenses. So the cost of sales, the cost to make that product, depreciation of your assets, all these things that are leaving the company and costing you money. Most companies, you want this income minus expenses to be positive. Some things we look out for on a income statement. We want increasing net profit margin. This represents the percentage of revenue that remains as profit after all expenses, including interest and taxes, have been taken off. So why is this important? So think if a company's net profit margin is increasing over time, their product is becoming more efficient cost-wise. So say after 1 year, they keep 10p of every £1 they sell. Then after 5 years, they've got it up to 50p of every pound they sell. If this is increasing, it's a very, very good sign that something's going right behind the doors of the company. Another obvious one is revenue growth. Is the company selling more and more each year? And does that market allow the company space to keep growing, or is it becoming saturated? Are there too many competitors flowing in? Diversification of revenue streams are also very important. You don't just want one revenue stream. If you can get multiple ways that you're making money as a company, it lowers risk, because if one of your revenue streams goes kaput, you've still got these other ones as backup. One downside of this is if you put your eggs in loads of different baskets, you never actually excel in one of those things. You become the jack of all trades, but the master of none. That was Grindy. So cost of goods are how much it costs to make that product essentially. If a company can keep its cost of goods as a low percentage of revenue, it is more efficient in its production and procurement. Not much else to say on that one. It's pretty explanatory. Bad slideshow. And then finally, I've got high R&D. So if you don't know what R&D is, it's research and design. So this means, this means a company is reinvesting a lot of its cash back into the company to research its products and develop new and innovative ways to excel in its industry. This is often quite a good sign, but on the income statement, it's quite a high cost as well. So you've got to balance up whether you want to invest in a riskier company that reinvests a lot of money into itself, or you want to invest in a company that doesn't invest as much into itself, so it looks a bit safer, but is it at risk of falling behind compared to competitors who are innovating in that industry? Biggie number three, we've got the cash flow statement. This is essentially the cash coming into the business versus the cash going out. So we've got two guys walking through doors here to represent that. So I've got some examples of cash flows on the screen. Um, cash inflows could be from operation of the business, so selling its product essentially. It can be from investments, so we as investors, people, businesses also invest in other businesses. And it can be from financing, so this is other businesses investing in that business and giving money, or loans, money coming in from loans. Cash outflows can be expenses, so expenses from making your product, rent you have to pay on buildings and properties you own, purchases for the business, so like buying equipment, machinery, and also dividends. So say people own shares in your company, you share out some of the profit you make and redistribute it to the people who own shares in your company. So things to look out for on a cash flow statement are strong/growing operating cash flow. If you don't know what operating cash flow is, it's essentially all the money coming into your business minus all the money leaving your business. If we took a simple example, say you're at a lemonade stand and you make £500 in lemonade sales. Of this £500, you've put 300 quid into making the lemonade, and then you've got to pay 100 quid to your mate who's helped you sold it, and then say 20 quid for the lemonade stand. Your operating cash flow is £80. Now, if this is growing year over year, this is a sign of a healthy business model that is not only bringing more money in, but it's also reducing its operating costs. Another thing to look out for is strategic investing activities. So money may be flowing out of the business, but is it flowing into things that will help the business in the long term? So for example, is it investing in a new factory that will make the business more efficient? They can hire more workers and they can scale up the business twice as big as it was before. So although they've got a lot of outflows, in the long run, it's going to generate more inflows. Is a company relying on borrowing/raising equity to survive? So is the company issuing more shares, diluting the amount of shares it has to raise as much money as it can because it's in financial distress, and it needs inflows because its outflows are getting outrageous? So that's the three biggies over with. I thought I'd quickly mention NDR, which is net dollar retention. Now what this does, it measures how much reoccurring revenue a company keeps from its existing customers over a period of time. So if you've got a net dollar retention of over 100%, this is a very good sign for your company. So what this would look like is, say you had a Netflix subscription and you're paying 10 quid a month. If there was a premium version of Netflix which costs 15 quid a month, and all your customers are switching to the 15 quid a month version because they enjoyed the 10 quid version so much, what is going on with me? So they upgrade from £10 a month to £15 a month. You've got 150% net dollar retention. This also shows that loyalty is very strong within your business. So we've got the boring financials out of the way. Onto the juicy stuff, the non-financials. First of all, find a company in a sector you believe in. So for example, if you find a company, it's got amazing financials, but it's in, I don't know, the coal mining industry, that's a thing of the past. It's got no future ahead of it. And you don't really, the average person anyway, doesn't really believe in the coal mining industry. My granddad probably did. Also, if you are interested in the industry and you believe in it, you're going to enjoy looking through tons of companies, looking at their financials. It's going to be fun and you're going to learn stuff along the way. Once you find that sector, you've got to find a company whose product will thrive in that sector. I don't know who added this picture in, but it's just a bit weird. Don't pick any company in the market. Research that market. Find out who is on top, who's got the highest proportion of the market, who, say, to be fair, this isn't always the case. I'd say they don't have to be the largest in the market. They don't have to have the highest share, but they do have to be innovating, and they have to show proof that that innovation is working. Are they growing? Is their market share growing year after year? For example, Tesla. It hasn't historically been one of the big players in the car industry, but it did so by innovating. And if you spot Tesla early, you could see that its growth was becoming exponential. And if you call that growth early, you had yourself a 10x stock. You've also got to look at scalability. So we've got, as you can see this picture on the left, we've got a small company. This is such a stretch, can it grow in size? And does it have the room to grow in size? For example, JD Vance right here. Does his suit represent the entire market? How big is his suit is the question, because that can dictate how fat he can get over a period of time. Now stay with me here. So say you've got a company, it operates in a very niche market. It's not got many customers. Its room to grow is a lot smaller than a company that operates in a bigger market. We'll go back to the car example. The car market is absolutely massive. Almost all of the world own cars. So think an example of an industry where all the players are absolute scalability monsters is a tech industry. This is because tech products, especially software, is very cheap to make, and you can make unlimited of it. Plus, the rapid technological advancements of the world means the market is massive. So all these companies need to do is distribute their product to these masses. And they can do so very cheaply because software isn't physical. It's on the internet. You can make unlimited of it for dead cheap. That's poorly explained, but I hope you understand where I'm getting at. Right, so that's a very dumbed down version of how I would look at finding a 10x stock. Hopefully you've learned something. By the way, my 10x stock was, as you can see here, Palantir, a big data company. And the way I found it was pretty much using all these steps that I've showed you here in a bit more of an in-depth way, which I'll probably go into in future videos. But hopefully all of you have learned something from that video, or at least enjoyed the picture of the chubby JD Vance. Thank you guys. Subscribe and like the video.